In the early 1450s, Europe was on the verge of cultural changes and large quantities of documents needed to be produced. Johann Gutenberg went on a search to create a machine that could do this task. His research led to the invention of the printing press around 1450. Gutenberg constructed his printing press with a structure that isn't seen very often these days. It is made up of two right timbers with crossed pieces of wood to stay them together at the top and bottom. There were also intermediate cross timbers, one of which supported the flatbed upon which the type was placed, and through another a wooden screw passed, its lower point resting on the center of a wooden platen, which was thus screwed down upon the type.
I worked at the book press in Brattleboro, Vermont, worked for the largest book manufacturer or the largest printer in the world, Quebecor. I started working there because I got involved in school with printing, and then I got a job at a school at a print shop, a job shop, and then I went to a couple other smaller printing places, and then I was interested in the book press, and it was more money, and the Vermont Printing Company was going out of business, so somebody that I knew liked me and introduced me to his boss, and out of it I got a job, and I worked there for 23 years. Well, when I first went there, I was working on a sheet-fed offset press that printed 128 pages of book at a time. And when I got done, we had machines that printed an entire book, collated it, bound the paperback book cover, and trimmed the book to the size so it was a finished product to ship. We also had web presses where it was a continuous web roll of paper going through the machine, and we'd print 32-page signatures of books at very high speeds, 10 to 15,000 signatures per hour. We had one machine in particular, the paper was going through the press at 45 miles an hour. We would run 48 rolls, a whole tractor-trailer load of paper in one 12-hour shift. All the ink came out of a 2,000-pound tank. It was all piped in under pressure, and we would change that 2,500-pound tank of ink every 3 days or less. We also had higher speed collators that would collate the books and do the different Smythsonian or paperback perfect bound type printing. It was quite challenging. Everything was always a challenge. The customer always was looking to make something that they had look like a Rembrandt rather than what it really looked like. So, we were always having the cameraman in the darkroom reshooting a halftone with a different screen line or a different bump, or we'd have to repack the press or change the rollers, set the rollers. Sometimes we even had to use different ink. Sometimes we had to tell the customer that the paper they had was too porous, and we'd have to get them to buy a better quality roll of paper to print from. Well, I started in high school from not knowing anything, never seeing a California job shop, the hand type, to learning how to run a linotype, to my own typesetting, running a letterpress printing press, to an offset printing press, to a very large 50 by 76 sheet-fed printing press, printing 56 pages on each side of the paper, to a web offset heat set printing press that would run continuous rolls of paper and make 32-page signatures, to a Cameron press that would print an entire book and have a final product at the other end. I saw a handset, I saw a linotype, I saw the typesetting through the first computers to the more sophisticated computer that would have the film all laid out so that the stripper didn't have to strip the pages on a goldenrod layout like they used to. I saw different automatic plate makers when I first went to the book press. The plate maker that made the printing plate that we printed from would have to wipe it all down by hand, and after a little while before I got through with the book press, they'd had a machine. They just run the plate through and it would develop it up, coat it for the press so that it could go out to the printing press, and the person wouldn't have to hardly touch it at all, just handle it from one operation to the other. Typesetting is when you set the type so you would print somebody's thoughts from a handwritten piece of paper to a typeset piece of paper to a typesetting. You would either do it by hand with a linotype and set the lines in sequence, and then have a roller ink up the type with ink, and then lay the piece of paper on top, or automatically have the piece of paper laid on top of the type, and a roller come over and transfer the ink from the letters to the paper, and then you'd have a readable piece of paper.
The printing press made a deep and lasting impact on the everyday people's lives. Most of the earliest books dealt with religious subjects. Students, businessmen, and upper and middle class people, such as scholars, bought books on all subjects. But there wasn't just more information for scholars. There was also more for everyday people. With the large amount of books printed by the printing press, the idea of being able to have a book or two at home opened up. With having more reading material, people were able to expand their knowledge and education, which still occurs today. With all of the advances that have been made in technology due to the printing press being invented, more jobs became available. Libraries were able to stock more books at a lower cost due to the immediate effect of the printing press. With this larger quantity of books, information became available to more of the population and helped spread ideas faster. It made the Western culture's first viable method of disseminating ideas and information from a single source to a large and far-ranging audience. Now many more people would have the opportunity to read and teach others how to read. The religious community also changed. Fewer people were going to church because, thanks to the printing press, it was possible for them to read the Bible in their own language. Once people knew the word of the Bible, the church's authority started to be questioned because there was nothing in the Bible about having to pay church taxes. This led to the Reformation. During the Reformation, both Protestant and Catholic propagandists used the printing press as a weapon to influence the public. The Protestants used the printing press to increase the knowledge of nature and the will of God, while the Catholic Church produced large quantities of anti-Reformation texts. The printing press played a significant role in communicating the ideas that fueled this theological war, and was responsible in part for the Reformation's effect on Western religion and politics. If it wasn't for the invention of the printing press, there's a possibility that all papers, documents, and books would have to be written by hand or with a hand press today. If the printing press wasn't invented, then the cultural and industrial revolutions would not have occurred. Since the printing press, a way to print the written word has been improving and changing into what are now computers. These computers can be used to write, edit, add photographs, and print. The printing press started this great information revolution that is still evolving today. And with the direction that technology is heading in, it makes some people wonder what role the printing press will have in the future.